Hi everybody, welcome back to the Tuesday Tip. This is Coach Chris and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we're going to be talking about what the coach's thought is approaching each season. I know as an athlete I always wanted to know why we were doing a certain thing or approaching a season a certain way. It helped me understand what the goal was from the coach's perspective, and it also helped me develop my own goals for each individual season. A coach's plan can be broken down into four groups. First off being a macrocycle. A macrocycle is when you set up an end meet. It's that plan from that 3 months if you're in high school, or like a 6 months plan if you're an age grouper, from like where you start to state or regionals. It can also be as long as if you're an Olympic athlete, from each 4-year period in between Olympic trials. If you know that end meet, it helps you develop a plan working backwards. The next step is a mesocycle. It's what your goal is for every couple of weeks and gives a generalized purpose for those weeks. A normal approach that I use is the first part of each mesocycle being an aerobic base, developing that. Just working on endurance the first time through each cycle, especially, is spending a lot of time here, developing that foundation so we have something to work off of. The next step of each mesocycle for me is the individualized training. So let's say if your goal is a 500 freestyle, you're going to be working a little bit differently than that 50 freestyle. Like, you have different goals, you have different focuses for each practice or microcycle, which is the next step. After the individualized training comes a small rest and recovery period into a test period, where it's like that can be a test set. If you are in like a 3-month period and you don't have that, if you're in high school season, you don't have that like mid-season test period to see where you're at, a test set works just as well. But if you're in that 6-month period and you're an age grouper, or you just swim club and you're training for that longer period of time, it's usually a good idea to rest midway through, put on a suit, and see how we're doing in the middle of the season. After the test period, there's a transition where we have to just build up back into that aerobic base, and then it becomes like a full circle. The next step after a mesocycle is a microcycle. That's just the week breakdown of each mesocycle. So if you're in that aerobic base period or that individualized training period, that microcycle just helps go into a little bit more specific detail of what that week's practices are going to be looking like. And that takes me into the individual practice. And that's just what the focus is and the goal of each day. And what I want to encourage you guys to do is to ask your coach what the focus and the goal is of each day. It helps us, keep on our toes and remember that there is a plan, and staying on track with our plan. It also helps you understand why we're doing certain things, and helps you develop your own goals, and helps you understand swimming a little bit better. Now, 2 important details is the first is your attendance. If you're in that individualized training or that aerobic base, that first step of each mesocycle, and your attendance is a little spotty, it's going to be kind of challenging to rest and recover when we're missing out on certain days. And when we get into that specific parts of like each individual practice, if we're missing an individual practice in that week, if you miss that one practice in the week, you're not getting the intended benefit from the plan developed by the coach. I'm a huge numbers fan, and I just finished coaching a high school season in a 3-month macrocycle. Accomplished quite a bit. We did 172,250 yards in the span of 65 hours, and all prepping for the conference meet, which was less than 10 minutes of swimming. And following that plan, sticking through, it was very, very helpful for me, and I think the athletes as well. Though we accomplished a lot, it did help me as a coach personally go back into the club season and continue preparing for that longer microcycle or macrocycle. Ask your coach, see what the plan is, ask what the focus of each day. It'll help you understand why and help you develop your own goals. Remember, attendance is extremely important. And if you aren't going to attend, please let your coach know so that we can work around stuff. Thank you for joining this week's Tuesday Tip. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And thank you very much for the suggestions of the clips. We're going to work through them the best we can. Have a great rest of your day. Until next time.